the stage, President of the Board of Directors for the Iowa Rock and Roll Music Association, Ralph Bluesman.
Welcome, everybody. I'm really glad we finally had the chance to do this live. I traveled over to Dubuque, Iowa, and one of the things that impresses me about coming over to this end of the state is that it's just a great party zone. So I hope that you all had that feeling this weekend that this was one big party. As you probably know, we really have a tremendous amount of people who are behind the scenes. And as the president of the board of directors, I'm just one of many people who volunteer their time. And if there are any board members in the audience, I'd like you to stand. Any board members out there? Right there? We have regional consultants all across Iowa. Are there any regional consultants out in the audience today? If you are, please stand. Take a look around. One of the things that's really important for an association, an organization, or a village of people, a village community, is that it doesn't go on forever without a little extra help. So if you would like to be part of what we do, we would welcome that. And then secondly, if you'd like to take it to another level, we would certainly welcome that, because realistically, to make this a sustainable organization, and especially next year when we turn 25, it requires that we have all kinds of diversity across what we try to do. So we're not just rock and roll, we represent music, we represent the future of what our kids will be doing long after we're gone. And I want you to know that I'm really passionate about that, especially after witnessing what we saw in the roof garden with the talent contest. I had goosebumps. It was absolutely tremendous. So give all the people participating a round of applause. The moms and dads and kids. And you know, this has been an interesting journey we've been on for the last year and a half or so, and we're still in the middle of this. So I want to make sure you know how important it is to us that we keep everybody safe. But I know for a fact that myself personally, I've lost a lot of people that I care very deeply about. And one of the things that we'd like to do right now is to just pay just a special moment of respect for all the people in our lives that we lost way too early. So it's on the screen behind us. If we could just have just a moment, no talking. That's the least that we can do. Because one of the things that we can never take for granted is that, you know, we're going to be here forever. And my favorite saying by John Lennon is, life is what happens to you while you're busy making other plans. So tonight, we're going to have this afternoon, we're going to have a great afternoon. But I'd like to introduce our presenters right now that will be coming back and forth on this stage helping us. We've got Diane Sawyers and Naomi Pelisek. Give them a round of applause. And I'd like to bring out one of our board members, and she's a member of the executive committee who helps us with making all these decisions that need to be made, especially during a worldwide pandemic, Becky Thorson, who is also in the Hall of Fame. And then our executive director, big round of applause for Clay Norris. So thank you very much, everybody.
Iowa Rocks Talent is a statewide program for musicians 21 and under. Developed to encourage participation in music outside of school, grow awareness of music trends across the state, and provide an opportunity for professional development of young musicians. Iowa Rocks Talent accepts contestants' videos from across the state of Iowa. First prize includes a free recording session at Catamount Studios in Cedar Falls. Iowa Rocks Talent is an integral part of our mission at the Iowa Rock and Roll Music Association to provide live performance and educational opportunities for the youth of Iowa.
Members of the Crust from Des Moines, Iowa have different styles that come together to make their own unique sound. Every member puts their heart and soul into the group and hope to keep playing their music for many years to come. Please welcome to the stage Iowa Rocks Talent winner, The Crust.
My name is Marshall White, and I am the singer here for The Crust. And I do want to start with how honored and humbled I am to be able to stand here right now in front of all these role models and people who I look up to. And I do want to thank, first and foremost, a classic, my parents, my mom and my dad, for supporting me through all of this. And I want to thank all of my friends behind me's parents for helping all of this happen and bringing all of us together so that we can make music together. I know that everyone behind me, myself included, finds this to be the most fun I've ever had. Performing is my favorite thing to do, and I can say the same for everyone behind me. So I'm just so honored, and I really appreciate everyone here and everything that's happened to get me where I am, to get my friends where I am. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
The Spirit Award is presented to those who are dedicated to and actively promote rock and roll music in Iowa. Spirit Award recipients have contributed above and beyond to the betterment of rock and roll in our state, whether they've lived in Iowa or not. This year, there are two who stand out for their outstanding talent and dedication, with which they have kept the beat of rock and roll going.
Connie Valens' first visit to Okoboji was in 2007. She came with her family for the induction of her brother, Richie Valens, into the Iowa Rock and Roll Music Association's Hall of Fame. Connie felt an instant connection with the area and in 2012 made the lakes her home. Her favorite time of the year is watching the first snowflakes fall. Connie keeps busy working on projects with C3. That's the company that manages Richie. Additionally, she attends and supports Iowa Rock and Roll Music Association events and travels to various music and speaking opportunities to share Richie's legacy. She's honored to be recognized this year as a Spirit Award recipient. Please welcome to the stage, Connie Valens.
Good afternoon. I just want to thank my sister, Irma and Randy, for coming out here from their adventures all over the United States and being here with me for this special time. As you all know, I was very young when I lost my brother. I was 8. He told Mama that he wanted to take care of his family, and for the last 60 years he has. Because of him, I came to Iowa. First as an ambassador for Easter Still Society, where me and my family came out every year to do dances for Easter Still Society at the Ballard Ballroom. We had lots of wonderful people. And his legacy just continues and continues all these years. And, you know, through him, I've been given an opportunity to share what it's been like growing up as his sister. Robbie V once called our family rock and roll royalty. I've taken this, thank you. It's been a responsibility that I and along with my family really honor. And today I'm so grateful to Iowa Rock and Roll for the recognition. And this is a wonderful organization, as you all know. And for this recognition of Spirit Award recipient this year. And I just want Clay and Ralph and all of the wonderful people I work with to know that I will work proudly. And I also just want to say, to God be the glory.
its 1933 construction on the shores of Clear Lake, the Surf Ballroom has enjoyed a history rich in music and culture. Through good times and the toughest of times, the community of Clear Lake has rallied and supported the now legendary venue. In 2007, when the Surf Ballroom was on shaky ground regarding its future, several local business leaders, Jeff Nicholas, Paul Stevenson, Shane Cooney, and Dale Snyder, met and organized themselves at a volunteer board of directors. Their purpose was to preserve, maintain, and manage the historic ballroom as a center for cultural and civic purposes. Their commitment to applying the ballroom and its history to many music-focused educational efforts is truly outstanding. Please welcome to the stage the Surf Ballroom Board of Directors.
Hello, my name is Shane Cooney, and I'm joined here by Paul Stevenson. We're here representing the founding directors of the Surf Ballroom's nonprofit. Our additional members, Jeff Nicholas and Dale Snyder, weren't able to be here, but we want to acknowledge their work and that of our executive director, Lori Leitz. Additionally, we're representing a really large group of volunteers who have banded together to help make the Surf Ballroom a success. We'd also like to acknowledge that we're just the current group of guys who have stepped forward and tried to help the Surf Ballroom out. Over the many decades, there's been time and time again where the surf has found itself in some difficulties, and there's always a group of willing volunteers that step forward. And we're proud to be the group that stepped forward right now. We hope that by creating the nonprofit that the surf is charted on a course for long-term success. We really want to thank the Hall of Fame Board of Directors, the nominating committee, and we're just honored to be included. Thank you very much.
Trent Litton from Des Moines supported Iowa musicians for over 30 years, specializing in guitars and other fretted instruments. What sets Trent's business, Professional Music Center, apart was his support to professional and aspiring musicians of all ages. Trent started playing the guitar when he was 13 years old, and his interest in guitars only grew from there. He became interested in vintage guitars and bought his first vintage guitar at age 18, played with various bands throughout his career. As many of you already know, Trent Litton passed away just last week on Wednesday, August 25th. His presence will be sorely missed in the music community. Please let us take a moment of silence in memory of Trent. And now, on behalf of Trent Litton, his wife, Ingrid Litton.
Hi, my name's Ingrid Litton, and I'm here on behalf of my husband, Trent Litton, who passed away August 25th. He would be so happy to accept this award, and he's right here with me. He loved the shop, and he worked his whole life for a shop like this. He did everything that he could to do his best, and he appreciated all the young people that came into his shop and the old. He talked to everyone, and his customer service was the best. He thanks you so much for this award. Thank you.
We need somebody from the Musicians Pro Shop or Dennis Duke. I think we got it handled. Yeah. Musicians Pro Shop and School of Music is a family-owned business established in 1974 by Joel and Patty Kipp in Burlington, Iowa. The business started as a small lesson studio and soon offered books, accessories, and eventually instruments. The Pro Shop quickly outgrew this small location and in 1978 moved to a 3-story building on the corner of 8th and Maple. They have remained a fixture of Burlington's South Hill neighborhood ever since. Offering a wide variety of products and services has made Musicians Pro Shop a trusted source for area musicians for the past 47 years. The Pro Shop has inspired musicians of all kinds and proudly provides personalized customer service. Please welcome to the stage, on behalf of the Musicians Pro Shop, Diane Sanders and Dennis Duke.
I'm honored to receive this award with a little note from Patty Kitt of Burlington, Iowa. Musicians Pro Shop and School of Music is extremely honored to be presented with this award and would like to thank all their support for the past 47 years. A big thank you to the Iowa Rock Music Association, and they are very truly grateful to have their business honored in the Iowa Rock Hall of Fame.
Joel Kick was a personal friend of mine. We played in a band together, and sadly passed away in 2015. Anyway, he would be extremely proud to have his shop recognized today, so thank you.
On March 15th, in 1948, KICM Radio signed on as a 250-watt full-time radio station at 1490 on the AM band. A few years later, the Mason City radio station changed its call letters to KRIB and increased its power to 1,000 watts. It was one of the first Iowa radio stations to play a rock and roll format in the mid-1950s regularly. Their format helped them garner the young audience in the north central Iowa area, with teenagers frequently gathering for remote broadcasts. KRIB has gone through many format changes through the years and is currently an adult contemporary radio station featuring local news and sports, including sports coverage of the Clear Lake Community School District. Please welcome to the stage, on behalf of KRIB Radio, Delina Bartz and Alice Hanley.
Thank you and good afternoon. We are so proud at KRIB of our legacy and our heritage, and so honored to receive this award today from the Iowa Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It is humbling, and we continue our partnership with the Surf Ballroom to this day, and we are very excited about that as well. Thank you so much.
Bill Hillman has supported live music in Southwest Iowa since 1983. After restoring Shenandoah's 100-year-old railroad depot, the depot's restaurant has been a must-stop for countless entertainers, political candidates, and music lovers. Bill has been hosting a singer-songwriter series with entertainers from around the world, while still highlighting local talent. Bill has also planned and executed over 100 local music festivals featuring local, regional, national, and international music entertainment in outdoor and indoor concerts. The most iconic rock and roll event Bill has planned was the Everly Brothers Homecoming Concert in 1986. Additionally, Bill has sat on many statewide and local boards and received numerous awards. Please welcome to the stage, Bill Hillman.
I sure appreciate you coming up. I know you're a little concerned about your first
super spreader event of the season. I'm glad you came. And don't worry, there's a lot of you here, but every one of you will have a chance to buy me a beer tonight. If they don't do it, all you. I'd also like to thank all the musicians that played at the Depot, and there's a lot of them here. I just saw John Shirley, and I know John Rogers is here, he's getting in, and Rick Hilliard is here, and Dan Sullivan, and Eric Nelson. And, I mean, some of the best music in the world has been through my place. And some people that you've heard of, and some people you haven't. But the Irma Rock and Roll Hall of Fame people, they're the best musicians in the world, some of the best people. And I'd like you to give them a hand. And to you musicians, I don't expect to hear from you and everyone from you, so I don't think I will. But some of the famous people have been there. We've lost a few of them this year, some Irma people. But we also lost one of the prettiest voices that ever played there, Nancy Griffith, and only second to Susie Shaw on the rock and roll from a few years back. And we also lost Don Everett. So, what do you say about him? He opened a lot of doors for us. So I really appreciate Don. In a couple of weeks, his family's going to be in Shenandoah. We're going to have a memorial for Don. So if anybody wants to do that, look me up later. It's open to the event. The event's open to everybody. His family's going to be there. His son's going to play. It should be a fun event. So thank you to all the musicians. And I think I got everybody except maybe Sarah, Katie, Mikey, Michael, Becca, anybody else? Oh, yeah. The girl I've spent the last over 50 years with. Happiest day of my life is the day she asked me to marry her.
Big Daddy Anderson fell in love with radio in the 10th grade when he got involved in his high school's radio program. He worked a good part of his career in sales, and in 2003 at KKMA FM in Sioux City, Denny put away the suit and tie, and Big Daddy was born. During his career, Big Daddy has done it all. He's hosted comedy night and various concerts at the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino, and has served as a host and MC at many events and concerts. Big Daddy has also interviewed many individuals in the entertainment industry, including Kiss, Tommy James, and Larry the Cable Guy. Please welcome to the stage, Big Daddy.
Thank you guys, appreciate it. Thank you for all coming. My name is Big Daddy. I do a radio show, KKMA, Sioux City, Iowa. I've got a few people to thank. First off, I was the announcer here a few years back when I got to induct guys like Max Schaefer of KIOA Radio, Mark Voss. These were really important people in my radio career, so I was real happy to become part of this brotherhood. So thank you guys for letting me in. Also want to thank my wife, Jan. Where's she at? Okay, great front row center. She's been with me for this whole Big Daddy ride. Also family and friends who have gathered from all around the country. Thank you guys for coming in. It means a lot to me. Other woman in my life is Rita. Where's Rita at? There she is. Rita Bettine was my longtime partner with Big Daddy and Rita in the morning. And without her sickness, perversion, and filth, I never would have achieved the rating success that I did. And she's a big part of it. And I think a lot of you, Rita, thank you for coming. Rita. Also want to thank, I don't know if our general manager's out there, Denny Bullock. Denny B, are you out there? Probably not. Yeah.
Big shot.
I wanted to thank him for keeping me employed as long as he has. He and I go back a long ways. We're owned by a bunch of rice farmers. Powell Broadcasting, the radio station that I work for, Classic Rock 99.5, is part of a group that's owned by a bunch of rice farmers in Louisiana. But they believe in live and local philosophy. It's not a corporate radio group where all the disc jockeys are getting canned and they're going to automation and this, that, and the other thing. We let people know where the potholes are in our market. And so I'm real happy that I have a company like Powell Broadcasting to keep me employed. I'm also happy that I found out about, what, a year ago, Clay, 2 years ago, that we were going in this Rock and Roll Hall of Fame class, because it kept me employed at least for another 2 years. They couldn't fire somebody that's going to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, so I got security for at least until I get back to work next week. And also want to thank Mike King, who's on the board for IRMA, Iowa Rock and Roll Music Association, board of directors, and all the people in this organization. I've been a supporter of this group for a long, long time with you guys. I really believe in it. They keep it live and local, keep it remembering the music, and going forward with the new groups that are out there. So I just want to say thank you. I'm going to be one of the MCs tonight for the big dance that's coming up over at the Roof Garden. We are going to have us a time. I'd like to thank everybody, but they only gave me 2 minutes, and so we'll see you at the dance tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much.
Alan Morphew is an award-winning rock singer, songwriter, multi-instrumentalist, engineer, and producer. Alan eventually found himself in Hollywood, where he went to recording school and took a staff position at Track Record Studio. Alan has been on over 10 albums, worked with many talented artists, opened for acts such as Head East, and toured extensively in the United States and Germany. Today, Alan lives with his wife Sarah and son Dylan on their family acreage in Esterville, Iowa, and is working on a new album. He also teaches and records young musicians in the local area. Please welcome to the stage, Alan Morphew.
Thank you. I can do that, right? First, I'd like to thank the Iowa Rock and Roll Music Association. I'd like to thank their board. I'd like to thank their members. I'd like to thank all their volunteers. And I'd like to thank everyone that wanted me to be a part of this today. Especially, I'd like to thank my mom and dad for their support over the years, and my wife Sarah for the same. I'd like to thank my son, my whole family, friends, fans. I'd like to thank every one of you that's here today to join me in my weekend-long return to the public. I'll be hunkering back down into the studio again after this for a while. But coming up here in the future, we'll all be able to have a lot of fun together, especially after more of us get the opportunity to get vaccinated, get those numbers down, especially vaccinations for the little ones. My 7-year-old, he's the rock star of my life. Peace, love, rock and roll.
Bill Chopper Pelchat has been performing in the Midwest for over 5 decades. Bill has had a full career, starting in grade school parking lots and serving as the opening act for the local Major Nines Wrestling to sharing the stage with B.J. Thomas. Bill was inducted into the Iowa Rock and Roll Music Association's Hall of Fame in 2008 with the Silver Strings and in 2011 with Roadhouse. He also performed on stage with the 2019 inductees, the Rubber Band. A true showman, Bill brings both applause and laughter to the show. Bill's throw-together band, the Half Moon Carney Boys, has played several events and raised hundreds of dollars for the Shriners Hospital for Children. Please welcome to the stage, Bill Chopper Pelchat.
Yeah, Big Daddy was on here first. You know, when you're a musician, when you're out making music, you're also making friends. And some of my best friends are not necessarily, I hate to call them fans, but the people that have come and seen the bands and supported the bands. But the biggest friends you make, and some of them I made this weekend, are some of the guys back there in the green room, fellow musicians. You're closer with them than you are your own family in a lot of instances. But on that note, I need to dedicate this to one of my dear friends. He's in the audience here, Donnie Bray of the Valairs, the first band that was inducted. And we're dear friends, and like I say, there's a green room full of them back there, and these young kids that were just out here, they're going to make a lot of friends and make a lot of friends over the years because they're great keeping live music alive. But I'd like to dedicate this to a lady who became my friend, then my girlfriend, then my fiance, then my wife over 5 decades ago, and my wife Jeannie, who couldn't be here tonight for various reasons, but I want to dedicate this to her and to you people for supporting this, and my other friends with Irma. There's one there. So thank you, folks. Bless your hearts. Come see the show tonight.
Bruce Kim grew up listening and watching his Czechoslovakian grandparents sing, dance, play the fiddle, accordion, mouth harps, and chicken claws on a steel washboard. He knew then that he too wanted to entertain people with music. Bruce's parents first bought him a set of drums, but once Elvis burst out onto the music scene, he knew that the guitar would be his first instrument of choice. Bruce has played solo and with several bands, writing and singing original songs and cutting albums and demos. Bruce has worked sound for Steve Watts Sound. He has also hosted musical charity benefit events and taught beginner musicians the guitar, drums, or bass. Please welcome to the stage, Bruce Kim.
Well, I'd like to thank the Rock and Roll Association, and I'm honored. It took about 70 years to get here, I guess. And I'd like to thank my family, Mark and Vince, who was a musician, that kept me going, and my wife, and I'd like to thank my 92-year-old mother, who bought me all those guitars. Thank you.
Dennis Ritchie DeLuna is considered one of Iowa's most talented guitarists and songwriters. He discovered his passion for the guitar at the age of 12 and never put it down. Ritchie served as the lead guitarist for many bands during his career. The best known was his group Corn-Fed, which achieved a widespread following over a significant period of time. Ritchie taught several musicians, some of them fellow inductees, and wrote and composed over 300 songs. His music career came to an end on July 4th, 2013, with his passing. Please welcome to the stage, on behalf of Ritchie DeLuna, his brother, Dave Luna.
On behalf of the family and friends of Ritchie DeLuna, we would like to thank the Iowa Rock and Roll Hall of Fame Committee for the special honor for our late brother. Now, Ritchie learned how to play his first guitar when he was 13 years old. My dad taught him how to play on his old Spanish guitar. And Ritchie would buy his first electric guitar with money made from his Des Moines paper route. Before you know it, he was playing Purple Haze on his new electric guitar. And I kept on asking him to play that same song over and over again, and until we'd be quiet. He was going to start his first band. Well, this would be the start of Ritchie's passion. He would start several bands. Some of them were called the Almighty, Magnum, the Hilt, and Corn-Fed. And Corn-Fed would be his best band he ever had. And
The Mad Hatter would come to Mason City and ask my brother Richie if Cornford would like to be the opening act of the very first Buddy Holly tribute concert at the Surf Ballroom in 1979. And Richie said yes, he would definitely like to do that. And Richie, like I said, he recorded 300 songs, and Electric Love was probably his best CD that he had. A lot of you people that like guitar music would really enjoy this one. I'd like to take a moment here to mention a few names that had a lot to do with Richie's career. It could be Steve Sutton, Jeff Dahlstrom, Michael Watts, and Tommy Alvarez. I know you guys are all up there and playing rock and roll music up in the heavens, and my dad is out there dancing away. And Richie taught many musicians how to play, and as one Hall of Famer, John Van, would say, I owe him a debt of gratitude for steering him into some great music. And I want to say thank you to Dan Risch for being so close to Richie during his last years and recording some great music together. And Roger Chinigo for taking the time to listen to Richie's CD and get it in the right hands of the Iowa Rock and Roll Hall of Fame Committee and getting Richie inducted with this so much deserved honor. I accept this honor on behalf of my late brother Richie. I know you're smiling down on us, and I look up to you and say your music lives here at the Iowa Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and in our hearts forever. Thank you.
Doug Roberson graduated with a film degree from the University of Iowa in 1984. After hearing the soundtrack that Doug composed for his senior film project, Doug's professor encouraged him to pursue a career in music. Doug took his professor's advice and spent the next 35 years working as a guitarist, songwriter, production manager, and talent buyer in Iowa City. During his career, Doug has toured in Europe and the United States several times. He co-founded half a dozen bands and released dozens of albums while bringing internationally known acts to Iowa City. Please welcome to the stage Diane Sanders, accepting on Doug's behalf.
The Iowa Rock and Roll Music Association is very honored to accept this award for Doug Roberson.
John Piper began playing the guitar at an age later than most. He learned his first chords in high school, but wouldn't learn guitar in earnest until he joined the Army. He learned to play the guitar from his fellow soldiers, and within 4 months was playing lead guitar in a band. After being discharged from the Army, John played in numerous bands. He traveled on the road for several years, opening for various headliners, including the Diamonds, Gary Lewis and the Playboys, the Dave Clark Five. On behalf of John Piper, please welcome to the stage Ralph Klusman.
I know John's out in Dubuque, Iowa right now watching this live stream broadcast. But as I was growing up in Dubuque, Johnny was one of those kind of guys that was not just a musician, he was an entertainer. And our current lead guitar player in our band, Johnny Walker, was a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee. I think really amongst all the people that would witness what Johnny Piper did, picked up on how Johnny was the kind of guy, when he was out there doing what he loved, he'd bring the audience right into the palm of his hand. And I respected that, and admired that. And Johnny Piper, you need to know what an inspiration you were to me and countless others that got to witness what you've done over all these years. Now, unfortunately, Johnny lost his wife several months back, and I want you to know that Johnny Walker, myself, and Kennedy from Dubuque, we went and paid a visit to their home and made sure that his wife knew that he was going to be accepted into the Iowa Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And you know, without a doubt, how proud his wife was. And Johnny, if you're listening, I just want you to know how much we love you.
Like so many, the 1964 American debut of the Beatles sparked a passion in John Rogers for music. As he began his musical journey, a family friend would loan John his beautiful Gibson jazz guitar, which inspired him and accelerated his musical progress. When he joined his high school stage band, his folks bought him his own prized Gibson 335, which he treasures. John formed 3 rock bands during high school before moving to Omaha. He has been a regular on the music scene ever since, both solo act and band leader. During his career, John would also form the group High Heel and the Sneakers, a premier 80s rock and roll show band and 2017 inductee. Please welcome to the stage, John Rogers.
Well, there's no one more fortunate that you'll ever meet than me right now. I'd like to thank my wife, Barb, and I'd like to thank Bill Hillman and Rick Hilliard. And I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for all of the support I've always had, all the bands I've been in that played all over Southwest Iowa. I mean, every place that you could put a stage, plug in an amplifier, and Bill Hillman didn't run them all, but he put me to work a lot, many times. When I think of how my life as a musician seems like a series of beautiful dream sequences interrupted by, some tragic losses like we've all suffered. I just want to thank everybody that's been so kind up here, the whole Iowa Rock and Roll Music Association, Clay, everybody. I mean, this is, give it up for Clay here. It's almost more than I can take to stand here, because I didn't really have too much to do with this. God sprinkled a little fairy dust on me, and I didn't have anything to do with that either. So here I am, here you are. I just want to thank everybody for inducting me into the Iowa Rock and Roll Music Association Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I'm so proud.
John O. Smith was another influenced by the British invasion of 1964. Inspired, John O. and his father built his first guitar, which he taught himself how to play using a Mel Bay chord book and his ears. During his musical career, John has been a part of various groups, releasing music with most of them, most notably with the groups Zinni, the Red Rider Band, Alien, Korn, and the Other Brothers. John O. has served as the musical director for the Iowa Blues Showcase and in 2014 retired from 25 years in public education. He continues to perform solo in duos and trios as well as releasing music. His most recent release in 2018 was his CD Peace and Love and War and Peace. Please welcome to the stage John O. Smith.
Hello. Good afternoon. My name is John O. and I'm a rockaholic. And I've been rocking for 56 years. I know we all feel that music, certain songs that we hear can take us back to when we first heard that song. Take us right back, give us that same feeling. It's kind of like magic. I mean, playing music has allowed me to get through good times, bad times. I've had my share. And I am grateful to be so blessed. There are a few people I would like to thank for making my induction possible. First and foremost, of course, thanks to my beautiful wife, Christy. My beautiful wife of 50 years. We just had our anniversary a couple weeks ago. Christy, thank you for allowing me to play music all these years. You have assisted me through my musical journey with support, encouragement, and love. John Lennon said it best. In my life, I love you more. Yes, I do. Thanks to my daughter, Ashley, Yes, all right, I would clap for that. Thanks to my daughter Ashley for being my #1 fan and being the kind and caring person that she is. Today is her birthday. So as a proud father, I want to wish you a happy birthday, sweetie. You mean the world to me. I love you. Thank you to my Ohio family who drove 850 miles to come out here. Thank you especially to my brother Craig, who's helped me with good advice and even better guitars. You have been and are still one of my biggest supporters, and thanks. I love you, brother. A big thank you to my mom and dad for their love and my life. I bet they're looking down on us right now. I know they are. Know that I love and miss you, Mom and Dad. Thanks to my Iowa family for putting up with my musical ups and downs and encouraging me along the way. I couldn't have done it without you. Thanks, Howard, for being there when I needed you. I can't believe I'm up here either. There's no way to name all the bands and the people that I've worked with all these years, but I would like to acknowledge just a few of them. The band Zini, thanks Jimmy, Chris, Gary, and Greg. The Red Rider Band, thank you Steve, Betty, Dwayne, and Jack. Alien Corn, thanks John, Dave, and Woody. Also the other brothers, thanks John and Gary. I was lucky enough to record 4 albums with those different bands. And of course that reminds me, I can't forget to thank Dr. Lori. Thanks Lori for nominating me and being my bandmate for all these 9+ years, along with our fellow musicians in Opus Taylor, Ted, Phil, Scott, and Bill. Long may we run. Also, as most of us that are here today, I want to thank the gods for George, John, Paul, and Ringo. I couldn't and probably wouldn't be here today without their mighty influence. You say you want a revolution? Yeah, we all know we want to change the world, the Beatles forever. Lastly, thanks to this wonderful organization, the Iowa Rock and Roll Music Association, for inducting me into the Hall of Fame class of 2021. Now, we all know it was supposed to be in 2020, but this couldn't have happened any other year when we get both dates, 2021. Yeah, that couldn't have happened again. Well, not until 21, 22, I guess. Amazing. I am humbled and honored to be part of this marvelous institution. Thank you very much. Let's all keep on rocking, and peace will always be the answer. Thank you.
Kirk Skinny Webb is a multi-instrumentalist specializing in the guitar and mandolin. Skinny began playing the guitar at the age of 5, but wouldn't discover his love of rock music until 14. Skinny plays an eclectic and varied style of music, running the spectrum from hard rock instrumentals, bluegrass, flat picking, country chicken picking, and jazz fusion. He has played on and produced over 25 albums for other artists, and now has his progressive rock solo effort called the Eremita Project. Please welcome to the stage, Kirk Skinny Webb.
I used to be being up here in front of a microphone without a guitar, so I'm a little nervous right now. What an honor. It's unbelievable. I'm in a great place right now. But anyway, I'd like to thank my mom, Sharon Webb, first of all, for being my piano player in my first band when I was 5 years old. Let's hear it for Mom. Thank my wife, Tony, for being my personal photographer and taking such great pictures of all my bands and posting it on Facebook and making me famous. And I'd like to thank my Uncle Bill Webb for showing me that I could play on all the strings of the guitar and not just one. And my grandfather, Claude Webb, who told me when I was 12 years old, polka music, that's where the money's at. Well, he got me started in music, but I'm glad I didn't take his advice on that. I'd also like to, what can I say? Rick Hilliard and Dan Sullivan. If it weren't for them, I wouldn't be up here. I'd like to thank Eric Nelson, who's out in the audience here, for coming to me one day and asking me if I could record his first album. Got me started on a great career in recording and studio work and things of that nature. Lastly, I guess I'd like to thank all the musicians I've played with over the years. It's been a wonderful thing to get to know so many people. I think I counted up a while back that I played in 65 bands. Can you believe how many brothers and sisters I have out of the 65 band? So anyway, thank you everybody. Thank you for this honor. It's been great. Thank you. Rock and roll. I love you all.
Melvin James is best known for his solo work as an MCA recording artist in the mid-'80s. At 14, Melvin had the opportunity to sit in at the Iowa State Fair with Dakota for their final number. By the age of 16, he was receiving interest from Warner Brothers. During his career, Melvin helped form the groups Crash Street Kids out of Minneapolis and Planet Melvin with his son, Little Melvin, releasing both albums and singles. In 1987, he released the single Why Won't You Stay from his album The Passengers, which reached the top 20 charts and whose music video appeared on MTV. Please welcome to the stage, Melvin James.
I knew I was going to forget stuff, so I wrote it down and thought if I put it on a scroll, it would have more importance. A few people I need to address. Try to get to it all. Okay. I'd like to thank my dad, bought me my guitar when I was 8 years old. I want to thank the band Dakota. There's these turning points in your life where things happen to you, and that was one when they took me under their wing when I was 14 years old and got to play live with them and go tour with them a little bit. And for my musical taste. I want to thank the Crash Street Kids, the late great Gary Eugene Snow, one of my best buddies, Randy Pye in that band. I'd like to thank Playboy for their comparing us to the Who, Yardbirds, and the Raspberries. That's like in 1982. I want to thank Frank Wewall, Keith Brown, and Kirk Kaufman for producing my demos, which got my MCA record deal. Spent a lot of time, and it was a great experience. And I want to thank Bill Simzik, the legendary Bill Simzik, for picking me to work on the record and signing my record deal with Irving Azoff. Thank Joe Walsh for borrowing me his door on Life's Been Good to Me So Far. And I want to thank MTV and MCA and my band Planet Melvin, along with my son, one of the greatest drummers, and Iris O'Shea on bass. I want to thank my family, my friends, and all of you that let me sleep on your couches. There are a lot of couches and floors and stuff on the way. And the love of my life, my wife, Ann Snow, and my kids, Sammy Snow, Sophie Snow, Leo Beach, and Melvin Beach, the other Melvin. And as long as there's one person on earth that remembers you, it ain't over.
Phil Christie began drumming in 1973 at the age of 12, playing in several rock bands in the area. He remembers his parents driving him to weekend performances because he didn't have his driver's license yet. Phil has been a part of numerous bands, including Spectrum 78 and Vegas the Silver Dollar Band. He has played numerous times at Rock the Roof and other locations, including the Spencer Community Theater, the Moose Lodge, Arts on Brand, and Everly Community Concerts. Phil teaches drumming to people of all ages. He has been instrumental in providing drum kits to youth with a passion for drumming. Please welcome to the stage, Phil Christie.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Clay. Thank you all for coming. This has been quite an honor, quite a weekend. I was surprised some time ago when a good friend of mine, an inductee, and a fellow band member, Clark Marshall, said, I think you might get inducted. And through the pandemic and all, we got geared up, and then we held off, and we got geared up, and we held off, and we got geared up, and here we are today. I just want to say several thank yous. My wife, Sherry, who has been with me from 1978 to current, and she's been rocking with me. And my family, my kids have supported me through this. My son in Texas that's watching. Semper Fi. I do want to thank the association for the induction. I want to thank all the members and all the people that we've met this weekend to put this together. Rick and Maddie, you two are phenomenal. And a round of applause for them.
Tommy Lee began his musical career in the 60s playing with the band Newcastle 4. In the summer of '73, Tommy began playing with a friend, Mark Doyle, in Faith. The group had an agent and traveled the Midwest, playing week-long gigs in those days. In 1980, Tommy joined the band The Crew, booking their gigs and playing in local venues. This group would play consistently until 1988. In 2000, Tommy joined Joel Kipp, Mark Doyle, and Rowdy East to form Not Dead Yet. The group played until the year 2006. In addition to his career as a performing musician, Tommy also taught guitar lessons at Musicians Pro Shop in Burlington and worked at the local golf course. Sadly, Tommy passed in 2014 at the age of 65. On his behalf, please welcome to the stage his daughter Shannon and close friend Mark Doyle.
Shannon, I'm here to accept this award on behalf of my dad. Thank you to Diane Sanders and Dennis Duke for the nomination. We really appreciate this.
In 1973, I was asked to sing in a band, and I had no idea. Tommy Lee and I would play in 4 more bands and create a friendship that lasted 41 years until he passed away. Thank you, Tommy, for I wouldn't be a singer without you. Thank you for singing. And thank you for saying to me, you can sing it, Doyle.
Time magazine named Charlie Hayden, quote, one of the most restless, gifted, and intrepid players in all of jazz, end quote. Hayden's career spanned 50 years and encompassed free jazz, vintage country, Cuban and Mexican boleros, and Portuguese fado. As a bassist, composer, band leader, educator, producer, and activist, Hayden created a robust collection of work during his career. He has received over 18 Grammy nominations in his career, teamed up with countless talented musicians, released several albums, and he received several honors and awards. Charlie Hayden passed away in 2014, leaving behind a rich musical legacy. On his behalf, please welcome to the stage Bill Hillman.
I'm not Charlie Hayden. His family can be a very, very popular family in music. They're triplet sisters. His son is band Spain. You remember the Decembers. There's one of the daughters is married to Jack Black, the comedian. And I wish they could have been here today, but with COVID and all, couldn't be here. And you can't really talk about Charlie Hayden without talking about Shenandoah in the 40s and 50s. There were hundreds of live musicians that played on the 2 radio stations. And at one time, there was on KMA radio, there was the Everly Family Show, had 2 pretty popular guys that went on to create rock and roll. And then in the other radio station, there's a competing show, and that was the Hayden Family Show with little Charlie, the yodeler. Was 2 years old, so he started his career at 2 and went on to become the most popular jazz bass player in the world, playing in every genre, inventing what's called free jazz. Working his last album, he did 50s albums, so I don't know if Clay mentioned he had like 20-some Grammy Awards or Grammy nominations and awards. He's very popular. But at any rate, his last album that he did before he passed away, just before he passed away, he was with Turner Gill and everybody you can think of, but also with his family. And even though he couldn't sing anymore because of polio, he sang one song his entire 70-year career. He sang Shenandoah. And if you get a chance to listen to that, if you got the Google up here, I don't know if you do. Try it out. Charlie Hayden, one of the most popular, one of the best musicians ever to come out of Iowa. And if he was here, he would thank Irma for doing what you do for live music. And he'd probably thank Rick Hilliard for being my buddy. And he'd thank all those guys with the same shirts on that. I'm going to grab the applause for that.
Rich Eames grew up on a farm in Quick, Iowa, a few miles east of Council Bluffs. Although Rich was busy with farm work and school, he learned to play the piano, trumpet, baritone horn, and sousaphone while singing in various local ensembles. After graduating from high school in Underwood, he received a scholarship to attend Michigan State University. In 1977, Rich relocated to Los Angeles. There, he performed at jazz clubs, showcase rooms, and commercial engagements. Along with performing, Rich was a musical director for various performers, groups, and concerts. He also composed music for many network series and feature films, live theater, and numerous specials and documentaries. To this day, Rich continues to compose, perform, and record music in the LA area. Please welcome to the stage on behalf of Rich, Ricky Scott.
Hello. I'm Rick Scott, Underwood, Iowa. I graduated high school with Rich Eames in 1968. I thought that I ought to nominate him for Irma Award, and he's in LA and he couldn't make it. So on behalf of Rich Eames and the Eames family, we accept this award. Thank you.
Her passion for music was obvious. when Janice asked her kindergarten music teacher if they could sing Hey Jude rather than songs from the children's music books. From then on, her passion for performing grew, including singing and dancing with the swing choir, numerous large and small vocal ensembles. During her musical career, Janice has shared the stage with a variety of musicians and groups. From a high school music geek to a versatile lead vocalist, Janice has over 35 years of professional performing experience under her belt. She is grateful for every opportunity and each musical friend she has made along the way. Please welcome to the stage, Janice Hill.
This is cool. This is cool. It's so much cooler than I would have guessed it was going to be. And I regrettably now told my adult daughter and son-in-law and grandson to stay home because it was such a long trip. So a shout out to my daughter Maddie, my son-in-law Andy, my grandson Reese, and especially to my mother Mary. I couldn't be here. You think about 35 now, closer to 40 years of professional music, and there's just a whole boatload of people to thank. So I'll keep it super short, and I tried to narrow it down to the top few. And the first one to make the cut was the good Lord himself. And I think I can speak for almost everybody in the room and in the green room that I thank him for the gift of music. And I thank him for his blessing and gift of my ability to perform music for so many years. The next person or people that I'd like to thank are my parents, who went to every concert, every marching band thing, every musical event that there could have ever been. They never missed one, my first gigs. And to those parents out there, it's really important. It's really, really important. And so I'm grateful to you and even more grateful for not being too upset with me when I decided rock and roll was more my gig than college, and I quit college to play music. So that was a big thing, and I was grateful for their support. During my senior year in high school, one of the, as it said in my bio, one of the kids said, "Hey, you can really sing. My dad has a band. You should meet him." So I went into Bob Dowdy's basement, and he hired me. And Bob Dowdy was the lead guitar player for the Bel-Airs, which is a huge band instrumental in the development of rock and roll music in this area. So it's just incredible. And without his acceptance and willingness to take a snot-nosed kid like me into his band, I wouldn't have had the beautiful life of music that I did. So I'm very, very grateful to him and to his family. Also, during my senior year of high school, I recognized the importance of the public school system and their music program, and hugely important. I'd like to honor the late Lorraine New by saying thank you to her for always encouraging me and pushing me to do a little bit more than I thought that I could, because she saw something that I didn't. So thank you to her. To all of the bands, bandmates, and friends that have come to be in this beautiful world of music over the last many, many years, thank you. It's been an honor to play with each of you. And most recently, the Iowa Western All-Stars. I'd like to thank Melvin James and John Rogers and Phil Christie and Chopper Pelchat and Skinny Webb, and who else am I missing? Who's on bass?
Al Morphew?
What's that?
Al Morphew?
No.
Who are you thinking of?
Steve Bastide, the bass player, yeah. You know, you get to meet these beautiful people, and we've only seen each other a handful of times, and you become friends, and I love rock and roll because of all the beautiful people that I've gotten to meet. So thank you to them. Finally, thank you to the Iowa Rock and Roll Music Association for creating such an amazing opportunity to recognize the history and the legends that have been involved in music and to inspire the future, the young people that are doing the music now. It's incredible, and they do an amazing job. And so I think that the closing line in the song that I'm going to sing tonight is by Paul McCartney. It says, I wake up to the sound of music, and my mother, Mary, comes to me. Thanks, Mom Mary. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Laura Benedict was born and raised in the Midwest. She moved to Texas to get a real job after singing her way through high school and college in pop and funk bands and amusement park stage shows. However, she quickly made her mark on world famous 6th Street in Austin as one of the most sought-after singers in the area. Her credits span over 40 years of pop and rock, as well as theater productions. Laura has performed at the White House and many other Washington, D.C. presidential events. She also plays with a long list of Austin bands, has performed on numerous radio and television commercials, both at a local and national level. Please welcome to the stage, Laura Benedict.
Thank you. I'm so honored to be here. Normally my motto is, if you give me a glass of wine and a microphone, you'll need to watch out. And I don't have any wine yet, so you're in good shape. I'm just grateful for this opportunity, grateful for the association for recognizing me. I moved to Texas after college, but I've always been an Iowa girl at heart. I always called myself an Iowa corn-fed heifer, and corrected people when they called me or told me I was from Idaho rather than Iowa. I'm sure we get that a lot. I do want to thank my mom. She was a piano player, and she got me started when I was like 3 years old on the Bill Riley Show and county fairs in the area. I also want to thank my Uncle Hoover, Bill Hoover, Willis David Hoover, who was inducted a couple of years ago for a Lifetime Achievement Award. And he's the one who submitted my information. I'm truly grateful for that. And I learned at an early age that my voice was the one thing that was going to make me stand out in all of my friends and around the situations that I was in. Unfortunately, it also made me a diva. Just ask my family, my husband. But I am truly grateful that you would honor me this way. I feel truly, truly blessed, and I thank God every day for the gift that He gave me. Thank you so much.
Dutch Uncle was a 5-piece rock band based in Dubuque, Iowa that performed from 1968 to 1969 in Iowa, Illinois, and Wisconsin. They covered songs from their favorite British Invasion, American folk rock, and pop psychedelia bands to the top 40 hits of the day. Inspired by their contemporary local performers and the rock music explosion of the time, they had a burning desire to perform and to inspire others to do the same. In late 1969, members of Dutch Uncle left Dubuque for other pursuits, and the band was disbanded. 42 years later, Dutch Uncle performed a final time in the Dubuque Rock and Roll Rewind at the Moon Bar in August of 2011. Please welcome to the stage, Dutch Uncle.
Thank you, good afternoon. Great to be back in Iowa. As a former state legislator in Washington State, I'm probably the last person you want to have talking right now. But since I was the lead singer with the band, I guess that makes sense. Anyway, I've known these two guys since grade school in Dubuque, Iowa, and later when we had our two other members join us, our former drummer, late Greg Peckus, who passed away 3 years ago, and Mick Rabb on the rhythm guitar. That's when the Dutch Uncle really took off. So we've known each other since grade school. My little sister married my little brother, and I'll let Terry talk about the music.
Thank you very much for this great honor. We're honored to be among this accomplished and talented group of musicians who still share the joy of rock and roll. 55 years ago this summer, our mom, my brother Kevin and I, took and allowed he and I and a few siblings to go to a rock and roll concert with the Rolling Stones under one condition, that she could go along. And that planted the seed. She didn't know what she was getting into, but she became a band mom. And so I really want to thank our mom for all she did for us during those years. And it's been a great joy. Again, it's a great honor. And thank you very much.
You want to say something, Kevin? You should. Big chance. Okay, I told you I was a politician, right? So anyway, being in Washington State, I was on the first marijuana oversight committee when we legalized marijuana in the state of Washington. Now I know that we don't smoke that in Iowa, probably never will, but just in case, I hope you guys are doing something about that. You've got to legalize it, you've got to make it straight. And I know people love the Beatles in this place, and we know Ralph Grossman from Dubuque, so we know about his love of the Beatles, but we're really big on the Kinks, and like Ray Davis, he's our guy too, so let's not forget what the Kinks did for music, and let's hear some more of that these days. Thank you.
Elm Street Grocery started in 1966 in Jefferson, Iowa, where the unique name was taken from a closed business in the community. Nearly every group member studied jazz under Jack Oates and actively played in the high school stage band. Oates was a leading jazz educator in the Midwest with numerous credits for his outstanding teaching and playing skills. Elm Street Grocery was also known for its massive horn sound and embraced the new jazz rock style, focusing on the Motown sound with its funky dance grooves. As the band learned new tunes, the horn section often featured improvised solos, creating a unique sound. Please welcome to the stage, Elm Street Grocery.
Good afternoon, thank you. Unfortunately, you're hoping to maybe see an entire band here. I will tell you, when the band learned about this great honor, all 8 of us were going to be here. Unfortunately, due to some of the trials and tribulations over 2020, I'm the only one that was able to make it. But I can tell you, everyone is very, very proud to be participating in this. I want to tell you just a little bit, very short, about the band. There was 2 of us that actually started the band, and after about a year, we got it up to 6 individuals. Eventually got it to around 8 individuals. Typically had 4 horn players and at least 4 people in our rhythm section. All of us were students of jazz, as was mentioned. So we all learned to improvise, and one of the things that we tended to pride ourselves in is we really like to get creative and really play something that nobody's ever heard yet. And it really focused us, drove us to create a little bit different sound, a little bit different feel to the music, the arrangements that we did, whether they were top 40, whether it was Motown, whether it was other types of horn bands, whatever it may have been, we always liked to add our own authenticity to the sound that we played. And that's something that we really strived for. We really didn't care about sounding exactly like the record, but pushing that authenticity so it would create some, oh, wow, kind of moments for those that were listening. Even though the band's not going to be able to play this year, all of you will hear something from one of the members of the Elm Street Grocery Band due to hundreds of hours in the studio as studio musicians. Music that's been written for music that's been written for television shows, national acts that many of the members traveled with, toured with over decades worth of time. A little side note, just maybe for a little smile. Some of you probably watched SpongeBob SquarePants. Everybody watch that? Do you remember when SpongeBob SquarePants would play a flute with his nose? Remember that? Yeah, that was our saxophone player playing that flute. At any rate, thank you so much. Thank the association, staff, volunteers, and out somewhere in the audience, about the time Main Street Grocery started, I also fell in love with someone that I've been married to for 48 years last month rather. So thank you very much.
In 1972, Genocide band members Kevin Curry and Dan Pyle dreamed of creating a band to have a good time and to be the leading entertainment resource for Iowa youth. The group initially rehearsed in an old lumberyard and later moved to a building in downtown Shaler. Their rehearsals were an open event attended by many locals. By 1977, Genocide was well known and traveling extensively throughout Iowa, Minnesota, South Dakota, Nebraska, and Missouri. They performed at various venues, including the Roof Garden Ballroom right here in Okochee. Genocide would disband in 1979, but overwhelming demand from their fans had them do a series of reunion shows. Please welcome to the stage, Genocide.
I want to thank the Iowa Music Hall of Fame Association for giving us this opportunity. Definitely David Lazier and Bill Hillman for putting their foot on a boulder and starting the ball rolling so we end up here. We appreciate that immensely. Have to give a shout out to the Currys, the Wibbies, the Simses, the Derlins and the Hickses, because without those families, we would have never. And they had to put up with that. I also want to add Mary Ann, Connie, Sarah, Patty, and Vivian, the women in our lives, because trust me, over the last 25 years, they let us go back to that crazy Shaler town and set up in the beer garden and do it one more time. We've been very, very fortunate that way. And lastly, Shaler, Iowa. We gotta put it out there for Shaler, Iowa. Because it was all about camaraderie and basically having a really good time. That's really the only reason why we got up here. Anytime, anyway. So thank you so much. We are very humbled and so grateful. Trust me. Thank you.
Hot Jam was an American hard rock trio formed in Marshalltown, Iowa in the early 1970s with a large following throughout the Midwest. The group recorded several original songs and played for ballrooms and club audiences in Iowa, Minnesota, Illinois, Missouri, and the Dakotas. In 1978, Hot Jam recorded band originals Just in Time, backed with You Can't Do That to Me, at Head West Studios in Schaumburg, Illinois. With a single success, the band decided their next move was to record and release a full-length album of their material. While active, Hot Jam never had the opportunity to record a full-length album. In 2013, the group met at Catamount Recording Studios in Cedar Falls and recorded several original songs. Please welcome them to the stage, Hot Jam.
sight. Look at you guys. This is wonderful. We are so pleased to be here. We've been blessed that the Iowa Rock and Roll Hall has brought us in here, the association. We thank you so much for that. We cut it down and we voted together and we chose we can only thank 2 people. So the association's number 1, but our supporting cast is number 2. Or 1, depending on how you look at it, because so many of you are right there. The family, the friends, doing posters, but getting the gas. Ames is out of dry ice. Go to Des Moines, please, hurry. The show starts in 15 minutes. Our supporting cast that was there with us all along, loving us through our mess. We thank you dearly. Thank you so much.
Shout out to my beautiful wife who put up with my stuff during all the travels we did on the weekends, and my beautiful daughter and my son. All right, thank you.
Kid Biscuit formed in the summer of 1986, and the 3-piece hard rock group burned bright for just under 2 years. The trio started out playing covers of Led Zeppelin, Billy Squier, Eddie Money, and Sammy Hagar, which earned them a large following. During shows, their significant others ran sound and lights. As they began writing and introducing their own material, their popularity increased, and listeners would be asked to play originals. Kid Biscuit sets were about 45 minutes long with few stops. They specialized at taking different songs in the same meter and sliding from one right into the other. They played all of Iowa, from I-35 and points east, as well as southern Minnesota. Please welcome to the stage Kid Biscuit.
Thank you. I'd like to first thank my family, my wife, for putting up with my music stuff all this time. I also, when I went through the museum over there, I've seen a lot of names and a lot of bands that were, like when I was growing up, I mean, they were my idols. And it's really like a great honor to be in this same group of people. I really appreciate it. I'd really like to thank, on behalf of T.C. Dakin, John Weiss, myself, Randy Bench, I'd really like to thank the Iowa Music Association and fans, and whoever that one fan was that put us into here, that remembered us. I'd like to thank them. Thank you.
In 1970, Lefty and the Spinners were formed by the left-handed Scott Hendricks. When he recruited other musician friends in Muscatine, Iowa, the band had a reputation for its dedication to 60s and 70s rock and roll during its career. In the 1980s, the band's alliance with regional radio and TV stations increased their popularity, helping the group become recognized as a local concert opening act. Lefty and the Spinners have been invited as an opening act or to share the concert stages at several major events. Lefty and the Spinners officially retired from regular appearances in November of 2008 after over 38 years of consistent performances. The year 2020 marked the 50th anniversary of the band. Please welcome to the stage Jill Barr, receiving the award for Lefty and the Spinners.
Representing the Iowa Rock and Roll Board of Directors, I'm so excited to be here with you tonight to celebrate the achievements of Lefty and the Spinners and accept the award on their behalf.
Since 1989, when Shade of Blue was founded by guitarist and vocalist Dave Razaza, the group has evolved into one of the Iowa City area's most beloved musical institutions. They have been the featured act and opener for internationally acclaimed artists such as the Neville Brothers, Coco Taylor, and George Clinton. Featuring the impressive vocals of Simone Green and Joan Ruffin, the band expanded to include funk, R&B, gospel, and jazz while maintaining its blues roots. The versatile saxophone stylings of Saul Luberoff and a rhythm section comprised of keyboardists Sean Seaton and Denny Kettleson, bassist Ken Fullard, percussionist Paul Cuniff, and drummer Matt Berryman complete the tour de force known as Shade of Blue. Please welcome to the stage Shade of Blue.
Thanks, everybody. It's an honor to be here. I've been unemployable since I was 19, so thank God for music. I want to thank the Hall for all their hard work to make this weekend such a success. A big thank you to my wife, Becky, for all her tolerance over these years as a band wife, which can be very tough. The mullet is gone, but the friends and musicians remain. I want to thank all my bandmates that couldn't be here. Joan, Simone, Paul, Matt, Saul, Ken, my brothers Sean and Denny.
I'd also like to thank the Iowa Rock and Roll Music Association and the members of the band, especially those who couldn't be here. And especially this guy here, Dave Razaza. He started the band over 30 years ago, and without him, none of this would be happening today. I'd like to thank my family, especially my kids, Patrick and Reagan. It's my son's 18th birthday today. I also want to thank Jenny. Thanks for being here today and always being supportive. Love you, babe.
Thank you. I wasn't even going to speak, but thank you for the opportunity to induct a group into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It's quite an honor. I've been doing this 54 years myself, and so these great people, really inspired by them, and appreciate the opportunity. Thank you all.
The 8-track band from Newton, Iowa was a rock and roll show with various singers and costume changes. Over the years, this dynamic ensemble featured multiple musicians with lead guitar, rhythm guitar, bass guitar, keys, flute, sax, trombone, and drums. Many of the musicians also sang, and the group often had an announcer and dancers. The group was formed in August 1989 at the Newton Community Theater in a production called K-Rocks. After a 4-year run at the theater, the band branched out to other venues, large and small, in Iowa, Missouri, Illinois, Kansas, and South Dakota. They made their final appearance after a 22-year run in Sugar Grove with about 1,000 fans in attendance. Please welcome to the stage the 8-track band.
My name is David Goose, and I'm really pleased to represent this group, the 8-track band. And I know what you're thinking. No, we did not all sing at the same time. That would have been a circus. So while there are a lot of us here today, we are missing some people, and unfortunately we've lost 2 members, Bryce Parson and Dick Canute. This is an amazing experience, which I know all of us are going to remember, and we're very honored to be among those groups being recognized today.
First, we want to thank all of you for being here and making this celebration what it is. It's really a great celebration of music here in Iowa. Secondly, we want to thank those fans who are here, who have followed us through the years and celebrated music with us. Next, we want to thank the Board of Directors of the Iowa Music Rock and Roll Association, the staff, and all the volunteers who make this event possible. And finally, a big thank you to all of our families who supported us, watched the kids, and took care of things while we were out performing and enjoying music together. Thank you.
The 1960s rock and roll scene in Fairmont, Minnesota was highlighted by several memorable bands. The two most prominent groups were the Pacers and the Corvairs. In 1965, after losing a band member, the two bands decided to merge and form the Epicureans, meaning eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow you die. The group was a favorite at countless venues throughout the Midwest. In 1966, they won a recording session at the Iowa Great Lakes Recording Studio in Milford, following the Roof Gardens Battle of the Bands. They recorded I Don't Know Why I Cry and Baby Be Mine, which played on local and larger regional radio stations. In 1971, the band was renamed Highway, and in 1977 became the Murphy Brothers Band. Please welcome to the stage, the Epicureans.
Hey, applause to you. What a great group. Thank you. Thank you. That's my brother's here on stage with me. This is so cool. And going way back. And of course, as my good friend who's not here with us today, Mr. Steve Murphy, he's saying, hey, we're still kids. And we have Jade on stage with us today on behalf of Steve. And he's going to play with us tonight. He's going to rock it. He's going to really rock it. Really, really good. But I do want to say one thing. Maybe I missed it today, but Darrell Olison. Hey, we were kids. And he took such a great interest into us and nominated us to the National Ballroom Operators Association as one of the bands that year. And he booked us constantly at the Roof Garden, and we had a hell of a great time. And it was really great. Anyway, I'm on stage tonight with my good friends, Dan Camarada, one of the founders, Wayne Walter, and Jade Murphy. Jade, you want to say a little bit about your dad?
I just want to say, my dad was really excited about this last year. And he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. And he would have been here last year, I think. You know, if it wasn't for the stupid pandemic or whatever you call it, he would have been here. So, it's a great honor to be here for him, because I know he would have loved it. So,
Thanks, Dan. Some of our band members, Steve, and always here with us. He's right here. And they couldn't make it. We wish they could have been with us, but they're here with us in spirit, and they're going to be rocking with us tonight on stage as well. Hope to see you all there. Thank you so much.
The Pilgrims formed in October of 1965 in Pipestone, Minnesota, and were active until 1972. The Pilgrims played their first gig at the Jewel Box in Hardwick, Minnesota. They would eventually become so big that their booking agent could not dedicate the time to booking them. He recommended a nationally known booking agent, Jimmy Thomas from Laverne, Minnesota, to handle the group. During their career, the Pilgrims played throughout the upper Midwest in venues such as the Valor Ballroom, the Surf Ballroom, ballrooms in Cedar Rapids, Storm Lake, Fort Dodge, Carroll, and Rock Rapids. They also produced singles through the Iowa Great Lakes Recording Studio, based right here in Milford, Iowa. Please welcome to the stage, the Pilgrims.
First of all, I would like, on behalf of the Pilgrims, to thank the association for nominating us for this great honor. Out-of-state band, a little history about that. Band started in Pipestone, Minnesota. I believe some of that was talked about. Then to Sioux Falls, South Dakota, but we were always hankering to get into Iowa. And with our agent, Jimmy Thomas, he was able to introduce us to Darla Wolfson. So that deserves a round of applause. I would like to dedicate this to Darlo, who probably a lot of this wouldn't even be happening. So rest in peace, Darlo. And I'd also like to give a big shout out to Tom Tuberville with his documenting the history of every good note or bad note that's been done actually throughout the Midwest. Great books. So again, Pulsating Pilgrims, thank you kindly.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, before I make a few closing remarks, let's have one big round of applause for the entire Iowa Rock and Roll Music Association class of 2021. For those of you who don't know, my name's Clay. I'm the executive director. I started on January the 23rd, 2020. 6 weeks later, we closed our museum for 3 months on March 17th. We've lived through, as many people have said, we lived through, but unfortunately, some people didn't live through. That would have been honored here tonight. Through that period of the hard decisions we had to make as a board and a staff for the protection of all of us. It was very, very difficult as we slid it from Labor Day 2020 to Memorial Day 2021 to now. So I'm very glad to see each and every one of you here, and I pray that your families and yourself continue to stay safe and healthy through the next year. Before closing, there's a few things that we need to say, some thank yous. Ralph had thanked the board and the regional consultants, but I would like to thank our volunteers. If you could do a big round of applause for all of our volunteers. And also some very important people that helped tonight. I'd like to thank Caitlin Barr, Little Miss Iowa. Declan Donovan at Doji Middle School in Iowa. And Lexi Duffy from Oak Doji High School. In Milford, Iowa. Thank you all. Couldn't have done it without you, especially with the 8-track band. We needed all of them at that point in time. All right, now a little bit of logistics now, okay? 6 o'clock is the concert. For those that didn't get a program, we're running a bunch of programs. So they will be available at the concert at the Roof Garden this evening. Now, they're getting staged out there for autographs. If you got an autograph already or you don't want one now, you can exit that door, that back door over there, or that door. Anybody that wants an autograph, I ask you to kind of stay at your seat We're going to dismiss you a row or two at a time so that we've got a flow, and you'll go out that door. And I believe we're going to have some kind of cocktail music going on with some members of the Union County Strings. So you can enjoy yourself while you talk amongst yourselves. And again, I want to thank the board personally and God. This has been such a fun job for me, I can't even stand it. So, thank you. So enjoy